So I'm going to speak about Ramayana. It's nice to speak about him because Diwali is coming. And it's quite, there's one thing I mean to say, it's quite a misfortune that mostly near Diwali this Durga Puja comes, isn't it? 9 days, that Navratri, before the Dashera, every time. But the whole point is, this is not a Vedic thing, because this was started by a king 500 years back in Bengal. He was worshipping Durga. I mean to say, they were all Shaktis, Shakti Puja. So he was very envious of Vaishnavas, so he wanted that the worship of Krishna and Ram should stop. So he made the system before the Dashera and before let's say this. So we have two Navratri, isn't it? One in February and one this time. So just before Ram Nami and at this time, so that people are just into all this and they forget worshipping Ram. That's how it went. There's all history behind it. Because this is mentioned in Devi Bhagavad. By the way, Devi Bhagavad is a concocted scripture. It's not there in Purana's list. So anyway, but we are not worried about that. We'll glorify Lord Ram. I'm going to tell you some things which everyone of us know, but there's so much confusion in that. For example, Lord Ram was hiding and he killed Bali. Now why did he do that? Or Ram, they had this Shubhnakha and he cut his nose. Why? That was a whole question. Or maybe Ram abandoned Sita. That's a big thing. Why did he do that? So all these things look very confusing, but what's the secret behind it? That's what we're going to talk about. But before that, let's talk about the secret of Ram Leela. Now you see, first thing, Lord Ram's, from where do we get information about Lord Ram? That's the first important thing. We get information about Lord Ram from Valmiki Ramayana. That's one of the main books, authentic books we have. Then you have many Ramayans written by so many devotees. In North India, 𝗙𝗪𝗪𝗪 Ramcharitmanas is famous. In South India, Kamban Ramayana, that's very famous. And almost practically every scholar, every saint has commented on Ramayana, isn't it? Because Ram is such a character. Everybody is inspired by him. Now, generally what people think Lord Ram has come to teach us Maryada, isn't it? And that's correct. But what kind of Maryada he has come to teach us? Maryada means what? Maryada means, how do we translate Maryada in English as? Huh? Maryada means, how do we translate? There's no English word for Maryada. Character, yeah.
Good manner. Discipline and good manner.
Yeah, that's what I don't want to bring there, morals. I don't want to bring that. Maryada means limits. The limit of something is called Maryada. Anything has to be done in a limit. Just like for children, just like for children we say, be in your Maryada. Like children are not supposed to speak against their parents. Not supposed to do that. Or maybe a subject, or maybe a person. If a king speaks something, nobody can speak back to him, argue with him, because he's a king. Now that's called Maryada, your limitations and boundaries. That's called Maryada. Just like, for example, the whole universe is limited by space and time. Am I right? So the Maryada of universe is space and time. Nothing is beyond space and time. Everything is constrained between space and time. Boundary or limit. So Ram has come to teach that. Now generally people think Ramayana is all about morals, but that's wrong. That's why I didn't want to translate Maryada as morals. Because Ram didn't come to teach morality. And how do we know that? Because all the commentaries on Ramayana, 𝗙𝗪𝗀𝗪 Ramayana. Now we can read 𝗙𝗪𝗀𝗪 Ramayana independently, but then we are going to misinterpret it. So we have to go to commentaries. So there are 3 very famous known commentaries on 𝗙𝗪𝗀𝗪 Ramayana. At least 3 of them. One of the commentaries is written by the younger brother of Ramanuja. Ramanujacharya, who is by the way Lakshman himself. And who knows Ram more than Lakshman? Tell me. So Ramanujacharya's younger brother Govind Raju, Ramanuja taught himself all the secrets of Ramayana to his younger brother. And he told you write a commentary on that. So his commentary is one of the most authentic commentary we have on 𝗙𝗪𝗀𝗪 Ramayana. Nobody understands Ram more than him. That was his name is Ramanuja. Ram Anuj, who is a younger brother of Lord Ram. So that commentary and 2 other commentaries are there. One is Bhushan. One commentary's name is Bhushan, and another is Govind Raju. If you read all those commentaries, it's interesting because you will see none of the acharyas have raised this concept of morality. They don't talk about morality. Because at the outset, in the first introduction of the commentary, all these acharyas, they say, we don't think so that Ram has come to teach us morality, because morality can be understood by anybody. There are so many saints who can teach morality. That's not the job of Ram. Ram, externally, there are some conducts you can learn from him, but Ram has come to teach us not morality, not maryada of dharma. Dharma, you understand dharma? He has not come to teach us dharma. He has come to teach us devotion or service. The maryada of service, that's what he has come to teach us. What is a limit of service to God? What you can do, what you cannot do. There are some limits you should not exceed. What Sita can do, Hanuman cannot do. There's a limit for that. Or what Hanuman can do, Sugriv cannot do. So there are limits to service. Everybody has, according to his capacity, he can serve the Lord wherever he is stationed. That's the whole idea. And that maryada he has come to teach us. The limits, the scope and the limits of service, according to the position of that person, according to the relationship of that devotee with the Lord. That's about Ramayana. That's all. Krishna did something else. Krishna broke all the maryada. He broke. He said, okay, fine, you can be related to me, but then you can serve me in any way. That's fine. And now it's the other way around also. Ram not only taught how devotees can serve him, but he also taught how God can serve his devotees. And he also follows a limit. He also follows maryada. But in Krishna's pastime, Krishna breaks all rules. That's what Krishna is. And he shows I am God. And I can break. Actually, Ram Leela, there was a problem. Lord Ram, after finishing Ram Leela, he was happy, but he was sad. He was sad because he established the concept of service there. But he couldn't establish the concept of God. Because very few people could understand he's God. Because he was acting absolutely like a human. But then he thought in the next avatar as Krishna, I will prove that I am God. I'll show to people how I will break all the laws. So he spoke lies, he cheated, and he harassed girls. He stole. He did politics. He did everything which actually a normal person should not do. Ram can't even think about doing all those things. But Krishna did. Krishna showed, if I am the lawmaker, I am the lawbreaker also. So that's where I want to start this, because many people can talk about Ram Leela, but then they talk about morals, and that's not a good thing. If you try to extract morality for Ramayana, then that's your agenda. That's not what Ram came for. So that's basically a sort of, it becomes a sort of It becomes a sort of disservice to Ramayana because none of the acharyas are commenting like that. So, okay, that's Ram Lila. He is Maryada Purushottam. He's come to teach Maryada of service, of prema. What is love? And I'll show how that is. So, what is the meaning of, let's talk about what's the meaning of the word Ram. I don't know, you see, as Indians, Ram is more attractive name than Krishna. I don't know, it seems like that. Isn't it for all of us? When we say Ram, there's a different feeling. When we say Krishna, there is a different feeling. Isn't it? We all feel more comfortable when we say Ram. I don't know, it's from childhood, naturally, it's there in us. So what's the meaning of Ram? Ram has many meanings. One of the meaning is what Srila Prabhupada quotes in his Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila. He quotes the meaning, Ramante yogino anante chitananda atmani iti ram padena sau param brahma abhidhi. This is Chaitanya Charitamrita 9.29. He quotes. He says, Ramante yogino anante. Ram is he who, Ramante yogino anante, who enjoys in the heart of yogis, who stays in the heart of yogis and enjoys their devotion. Bhakti yogis. Satyanande chidatmani, who is himself full of bliss and who has a form of spiritual character. Iti ram padena asau. This is called as Ram. Param Brahma Vidyate. This Ram is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is a quote from Padma Puran. This is what Prabhupada quotes. This is a famous verse. Another meaning of Ram is Ramyatam Vara. Vara means excellent, expert. And Ramyatam means Ram is he who is very expert in giving bliss and happiness to his devotees. That is Ram. He knows how to guide his devotees so that at every step they feel happy and blissful. Although we don't expect happiness, but he's bent on giving happiness to his devotees. That's Ram. And Ram is he who is Ramme Mayamiti Ram, who is himself full of bliss. You see, because he is full of bliss, he wants to give bliss to everyone. That's the whole idea there. He wants to share his bliss with all of us. He is hankering for that. You see, okay, fine. How much bliss does Ram has? How much bliss? Infinite, isn't it? So, anybody who has infinite bliss, he will like to share it with somebody. Because it's infinite. So, God wants to do that. And he says to all the living entities, even if you can take 0.0001% of my infinite bliss, I mean to say 0.001% of infinite is what? Still it's infinite. So Krishna says, Krishna decides even if he gives fraction of bliss to living entities, they'll be drowning in bliss. That's what he wants to do. That's what from his side the proposal is. But for that we have to become qualified. That's the whole point there. That is a bhakti process. So that's one thing. Another meaning of Ram, according to Agni Puran, is Ra means fire. Ra means fire. You know why? Because if you go to Egypt, back in Rome, Egyptians used to worship sun god. And he was called as Ra. Ra, they used to call their kings as Ra because they were supposed to represent sun god. So Ra means sun god and fire. And Ma means happiness. Ma means happiness. So Ram is a person who is like, Ra means fire, who burns all the sins of his devotees by his expertness. And Ma means bliss. After burning all the sins, he gives bliss to his devotees. That's one meaning of Ram. So there are many meanings of Ram like that in scriptures. So, but the whole point is, you see in Ram Leela there is Ram, Lakshman, Shatrughan, Bharat, Sita and Hanuman. These are the main characters. Now, all of them are teaching us something. I just told, Ram Leela is all about Maryada of service. Ram is trying to teach service through his own actions and through his devotees. And all these characters who are playing in Ram Leela, they are teaching us different aspects of service. That's what they are doing. Service is infinite. So if you understand every character, you will understand everybody of us. They are teaching different characters. Here is one verse I'll quote from one of the alvars about service. You see, it's an interesting quote. We must lie at his feet like his wooden sandals. One of the devotees praying, and in his prayers he is delineating service of all the people there in the characters. He says, we must lie at his feet like wooden sandals, keep them like a garland of flowers on our heads, go with him like his younger brother Lakshman, and bear his decisions on our head like Bharat. This is the height of dependence. Whatever causes his sacred face to blossom is called loving service or 𝗙𝗪𝗪. So that's what he's saying. All these devotees who are serving in Ram Leela, their whole goal is just one. They just want to see Ram smiling. That's all. They don't want anything else. And they feel their life is successful. So what is Lakshman representing in Ram Leela? What is he teaching? Lakshman is representing, Lakshman word comes from Lakshmi Man. Lakshmi Man. That's Valmiki defines like that. Lakshmi means devotion, or Sita, by the way. So Lakshman is that person who is trying to teach us that if you want to serve Ram, you have to serve through Sita Devi. And Lakshman did his job, by the way. Lakshman didn't sleep for 14 years. You know that, no? He didn't sleep for 14 years because Ram was abandoned in the forest for 14 years and he wanted to actually be on guard in the night. He didn't sleep. And he was guarding Ram and Sita. In fact, when Ram and Sita and Lakshman used to walk in the forest, Lakshman, like the first person was, who was he? Ram. And the second was Sita. And the last was Lakshman. Now, but the whole problem was how can he walk like that? Because if Ram walks, Sita walks, then their footprints are there. And if he walks behind, then he steps on the footprints of them. And that is disservice. He can't even imagine putting his feet on the footprints of Lord Ram. So what he did was, he said to Lord Ram, Sita, that I will walk in the front. It doesn't look nice that he is walking in front of Ram, but he said, no, I'll walk in front. And then in between Sita, and then Ram was behind. So that he doesn't step on the footsteps of Lord Ram. So he was always thinking of how to serve Ram and Sita. That was his object. That's why he's called Lakshmi Man. Lakshman was the most wealthy person because he had the wealth of devotional service. Lakshman was such a character that he left his wife. Who was wife of Lakshman? Urmila. Urmila was wife. He left his wife. He left his wife to serve Ram. He did that. You want a chair? Chair.
Thank you very much. That was pure nectar.
Okay, fine.
Very inspired by.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have to go.
So that's Lakshman. He is wealthy. He has wealth of service of Lord. And he's teaching us to serve Lord Ram. You should go to any extent. He sacrificed his sleep. He sacrificed his wife. He sacrificed his opulence. He sacrificed his throne. Because if Ram is abandoned, who is going to become the king? Lakshman. It's not Bharat, by the way. Well, Lakshman is elder to Bharat, am I right? Yeah. And 𝗙𝗪𝗪 didn't ask Dashrath to abandon Lakshman. It was just Ram. But 𝗙𝗃 was very intelligent. She knew if Ram goes, Lakshman is going. Because Lakshman was like shadow of Lord Ram. He couldn't imagine leaving Ram. So 𝗙𝗃, if you read Valmiki Ramayana carefully, 𝗙𝗃 never asked Dashrath that you abandon Lakshman also. But her interest was making Bharat as a king. Bharat cannot become a king if Lakshman is there. But she was pretty confident Lakshman will go. And Lakshman went. So he sacrifices his throne, he sacrifices everything. For whom? For Ram. So Lakshman has a wealth of sacrifice. That's what he's showing. You see, I told you, Ramayana is teaching us how to serve Lord. Lakshman is teaching, if you want to serve your Lord, one thing you should have is concept of sacrifice. That you have to be wealthy in. The more you sacrifice in service, the more you advance. Srila Prabhupada, same thing. Prabhupada sacrificed, am I right? That's why we praise Prabhupada. He sacrificed his life, he sacrificed his time, he sacrificed his age. He was such an old person. He sacrificed his family. So Lakshman is teaching great souls are praised not just due to their service, but due to the sacrifice in service. That's what Krishna wants to see. We all are serving Krishna, but Krishna says, what's that? Manushyanam sahasreshu kashyadati siddhaye tatamapi siddhanam kashyan mameti tatvata. Out of thousands, one will come to me, and out of thousands who come to me, only one will attain me. Who is that one? We're all serving. Who is that one? Who is wealthy in sacrifice. Who knows how to sacrifice. Krishna wants to see that. So that's what Lakshman is teaching. So see, one aspect of service. Ramayana is teaching different aspects of service. That's what Lakshman is teaching. What about Bharat? Bharat is teaching another aspect of service. Now Bharat means, by the way, in Sanskrit, Bharat means bhar. Bhar, you know bhar? Weight, burden. Bharat is a person who takes the weight, the burden on his head. The burden of what? He takes the burden of service on his head. Now Ram went to the forest and he said to Bharat, if you come with me, then who's going to take care of the kingdom? So Bharat said, don't worry about that. I'll take care of your kingdom. But I will not take your throne. So I'll not sit your throne. You please give your sandals to me. I will serve your sandals, and I will be a representative of you, and I will serve you 14 years. That's what he did. So he is teaching us that, you see, what is service? Service is to take the burden of God on your head and not to give your burden to him. That's service. And this actually ordinary man can never understand. This is what devotees understand. Because devotees go to God and then non-devotees or half-devotees, they go to God and they give their burden to God. Oh, Krishna, I have this problem, I have that problem, please help me, this. Now you're going to disturb him. That's not a servant. A servant goes to his master to tell, oh my master, do you have any problems? I'll solve for you. And that's the whole problem. So, but the whole question is, what is the problem of God? That's the whole point. What problem he has? Can we tell what problem he has? Can he have any problem?
He wants to take all the souls to
Yeah.
the world.
That's what he wants. He wants one problem he has, that he is quite in anxiety how living beings can be liberated from this material world. That's his anxiety, isn't it? That's what he wants. That's why he comes again and again. Why he has to come again and again? So as a servant, we take his anxiety on our head. Krishna, you don't worry about that. We'll make sure that all souls will go back to spiritual world. That's what Prabhupada was. And in fact, Prabhupada used to get a lot of headaches. You know this? He used to get a lot of headaches. And because of that, Prabhupada used to smoke tobacco. And some devotees told Prabhupada, Prabhupada, you are actually breaking a rule. No intoxication. We are not supposed to smoke cigarette, isn't it?
He was doing snuff.
Yeah, he was snuffing, tobacco.
Not smoking.
Yeah, he was snuffing, sort of snuffing, yeah, he was snuffing. But we are not supposed to do that. His father used to take hookah. His father used to smoke tobacco. And Prabhupada said he's a pure devotee. Now how do you understand that? So devotees ask Prabhupada, what are you doing? And we're breaking a rule. Prabhupada says, you can also break the rule. But if you preach like me, Prabhupada says, if you preach like me, you can break the rule. And devotees will say, okay, thank you, Prabhupada. Because nobody can preach like Prabhupada. So, devotees asked Prabhupada, why are you getting headaches? And Prabhupada said, I'm a lot of anxiety. How these souls will be liberated from this material, from the clutches of Maya. I'm in continuous headache there. Now, what was Prabhupada doing? He was taking the anxiety of God on him. That's what he's doing. That's Bharat is showing us. Ram was very anxious how his kingdom will go on. Bharat said, don't worry about that, I'll take care of it. You just be happy. So when we go to Krishna, our interest is to know what problems he has, and that we'll solve as a devotee. That's what Bharat is showing us. To take the burden of God on your shoulders, not to give your burden on him. That's not devotional service, that is Bharat. And more than Bharat, by the way, one of the devotee is, we don't talk about him, but a great devotee, Shatrughan. Now Shatrughan is teaching another aspect of service, another maryada. We were talking about maryada, various limits of service. Limits. Lakshman is showing the limit of sacrifice in service. Bharat is showing the limits of, the another aspect of service, taking burden of God. Shatrughan, what is showing? Shatru means enemy, Ghan means to destroy. So Shatrughan has destroyed the greatest enemy of a man. And what's that? Yeah, actually that is lust. You can say lust. Kamesha, Krodesha, Rajoguna Mahat. Lust. He destroyed lust. But when we talk about lust, in the case of Shatrughan, it's very different when we talk about lust for ourselves. So what kind of lust Shatrughan had that he has to destroy it? That's the whole point there. So Shatrughan had this, if you look from absolute platform, Shatrughan could have gone with Lord Ram. Shatrughan could have easily gone, and he wanted to go. Lord Ram in the forest to serve Lord Ram and Sita. Because he said to Lakshman, you see, you are getting all service, but we are not getting what's happening. But he didn't go. And he chose to remain back in the kingdom. So he overcame his lust to be with God. That's a big thing. That's also lust. If you want to be with God for your own purpose, that's very bad. That is called lust. Shatrughan knew at this present time, Bharat needs my assistance. Because he'll be alone, managing the kingdom. He needs my assistance. I can go with Ram. but Lakshman is already there. So I can go with him and I can fulfill my desire to be with him. But then it defeats his purpose. So let me not fulfill my desire to be with Lord Ram, and let me focus on what benefits his pastime. And the best decision was to stay back. So Shatrughan is showing that in service, lust can come in different forms. And one of the forms is to have a desire to be with God or to see him. That's also lust. If you have a desire to see him without the purpose of serving him, then that's lust. That's pretty deep, isn't it? That is very deep to understand. And that's why he's not there on the altar. Is he there on the altar? It's Ram, Lakshman, Sita, Hanuman. He's not there. He's basically absent from the altar. He's absent from Valmiki Ramayana. Nobody talks about him because ordinary man cannot understand this. Altar is for ordinary people. public, they are coming. But they cannot understand this concept that even to see God, that can be lust. That can be your own desire. That's Shatrughan is teaching. So we are interested to see him, we are very eager to see him face to face, but not just for our own purpose. If it fulfills his purpose, we are to see him. But if not seeing him fulfill his purpose, we are okay with that. We don't want to be with him. That's all.
Can I ask you a question, please? How
Yeah.
do you reconcile that with going the 𝗙𝗪𝗶𝗹𝗪?
Oh yeah, this is a question. You read a book, Prem Samput. Vishwanath Thakur has written that book. He raises this question, how do we reconcile? Because gopis are saying, Akshan vatam phalamidam na parama vidana. The greatest fruit of this eyes is to see Krishna. So how do we reconcile? Gopis have always wanted to, eager to go and meet Krishna. But then Vishwanath Thakur says, to meet Krishna and to see him is pure sense gratification. If you simply want to meet him, for meeting him, that's all, not to serve him. It's your own agenda. So what happens? So Vishwanath Thakur quotes there that, so one of the gopi asked the same question to Radha. That is, gopi says, Radha, you want to meet Krishna always and you want to see him, but isn't it sense gratification? Because you want it. But then Radha answers to gopis, she says, you know what, I understand the mind of Krishna. And I know he wants to meet me. That's why I go and meet him. I know in his mind he wants to see me and that will make him happy. And that's why I go. If he would have been happy by seeing me, I would not have gone. But that's not the case with us. It's not the case with us. Krishna is not hankering to see us. Am I right? Even without asking him, we can tell this. We don't need to really ask him and confirm this from. He is not hankering to see us. Come on. So we can't even chant 16 rounds properly. How can he hanker to see us? It's not like that. So our meeting, our desire to see God is not really, it's more of sense gratification. That's what Prabhupada says. Don't try to see him, try to serve him. Right? Prabhupada always said that. Try to serve him in a way that he wants to see you. That's what your answer is. That's what gopis are. Gopis serve him so nicely that God wants to see them. And then they want to meet him. Otherwise they will have no purpose to meet. They will not go. In fact, Krishna went to Mathura. And gopis, they were there in Vrindavan. And they never went to Mathura. You know that? They never went. He was so many years he was staying in Mathura. How much far is Mathura from Vrindavan? It's just, if you go in a chariot, you can go in the morning and within 3-4 hours you are there. Because like 20 years back when I used to go to Mathura, from Mathura to Vrindavan, we had that rickshaws, cycle rickshaw. That time, 20-25 years, Vrindavan was very different. So we have cycle rickshaw. Or that horse tanga. So we used to sit on that and go. It used to take 1 hour, that's all, not more than that, maybe less. They could have easily gone to Mathura, but they never went. Now why? Because they knew that if they go and meet Krishna, Krishna doesn't want them to come to Mathura. Because it would create a weird situation from him. Because he had his mother Vasudev, his father Vasudev, Devaki. He's in a different mood altogether. And if they go, he'll be in a very, problematic. Here are gopis and there's a different mood, and here is father, and what to do in front of them, how to behave. He'll land up in a very complex situation. So they understood he doesn't want, they didn't go. That's how it goes. That's a solution there. So for us, it is more of service. It's not a question of seeing him, by the way. Okay, so that is what is Shatrughan. He overcame the lust of being with God. That's a big thing. Okay, what about Hanuman? What does Hanuman teach? What aspect of service he is teaching? What maryada of service he is teaching? One of the meaning of maryada is aspect or limits, aspect. So what aspect of service Hanuman is teaching? Can you tell me? Okay, loyalty and protecting, yeah. What's that? Tulsidas says, Ram kaj karibe ko atur. You know that? He says, Ram kaj karibe ko atur. It's a famous line. Hanuman's teaching the enthusiasm in service. He is always enthusiastic. And what enthusiasm means? Enthusiasm means planning. Planning. He's always planning how to serve Ram. Am I right? He's always planning. He planned how to bring Sanjeev devotee, how to go to Lanka. And then he's always planning is in mind, and he's so enthusiastic and he wants to serve Lord at every moment. He's ready to serve him. That's what Hanuman is teaching. So Hanuman is teaching planning and enthusiasm in service. You see what Ramayana is. Ramayana is, I'm not talking about morals, isn't it? Absolutely no morals, just about service. Sugriv was a friend of Ram. And Sugriv, what is teaching? Sugriv is teaching that when you serve Lord, you have to assist him in his mission. Sugriv assisted Lord Ram. And that's what Prabhupada says in Nectar of Devotion. Become friends with Krishna. Prabhupada says. And one of the function of friend is, friendship is defined in scriptures as, a friend is a one who participates in the happiness and the distress of his friend. Am I right? He is there in both conditions, in happiness as well as distress. Prabhupada says a friend is a person, especially a friend is a person who assists his own friend in distress. In happiness everybody is there, but the test of friendship is in distress. That it's called Maitri. Sugriv was Mitra of Lord Ram. And when distress came on Lord Ram, Sugriv was ready, I'll assist you. That's the whole point there. So we should be ready to serve Krishna. In reverse conditions. We will face so many reverse conditions in our life. And that will be the test. And there Sugriv teaches, okay, no matter how much reverse conditions you are facing, always keep on serving God. And that is, then you will express your friendship with God. That's the whole idea there. So these are the various things, various aspects of service with different characters are teaching us. Now here's a question for you about Sita. Let's talk about Mother Sita because she is a very important character. Now why did Sita, I just told, to be with Lord Ram, that is sense gratification, isn't it? Just for your own purpose at last. Now why did Sita accompany Lord Ram when Ram was abandoned? Why did she accompany Lord Ram? Why did she do that?
She was cursed, I think. One of the things was she was cursed. There was a story of two parrots who were saying the story of Ramayana even before happening. She was a child.
Mm-hmm.
So she took one of the parrots and the other parrot was pregnant or something, and she cursed her, how I'm separated.
Yeah, I can understand. I'm separated, but that's a different thing. You're going to separate it from Lord Ram. But here I'm saying, why did Sita accompany?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's a different thing altogether. Yeah. That's one reason.
There's an external reason and there's an internal reason. The external reason is that when she was getting married, her father said that you have to serve your husband as a Lord.
Okay, chastity.
In distress and happiness. And the internal reason is that Sita is never separated from Ram. Like Lakshmi is never separated from Narayan and Radha is never separated from his eternal consort.
Okay, that's one thing. Yeah. But there's a deep reason for that.
Is it love? Love for God?
Love for God is a universal answer. So I don't accept that because this answer can fit to all questions, right? All questions can have answer, love for God. So it's not specific. That's the whole idea. Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean to say, if I say, why do you cook for Lord? Love for God. Why do you book devotion? Love for God. This answer can fit in any question. So that's the whole point there. So it's not really an answer. Oh, that's again universal answer. See, universal answers are confusing. You need specific answers. So, okay, so why did she do that? She accompanied Lord for two reasons, which scriptures talk about. Now here is a verse from 𝗙𝗪𝗀𝗪𝗃 Ramayana. This says, Kim tomanyat vaidehi pita me mithila deepa ram jamatram prape striyam pursha vigraham. And the meaning of this verse is that Sita accompanied Ram for two reasons. One reason was to prove the point that Ram is courageous. Now, you have to understand this point. Do you understand what I'm saying? What's the point?
So that the Ram can protect her.
Yeah, that's the whole point. To prove that Ram is courageous, he is not a person who is coward and who is just abandoned from this kingdom and is just roaming in the forest. No. That's one thing. Because she wanted to show that Ram can protect her wife in all conditions. Because if Sita stays back in the kingdom, people will speak about Ram. People will say, well, okay, people will first of all defame Sita. That, Ram is in the forest and his wife is enjoying in the kingdom. That's the whole point. So it brings defamy to Lord Ram. To protect Lord Ram from defamy, she accompanied Lord Ram. And on the other hand, in the forest, Ram has to protect his wife. One of the teachings in Ramayana is that the Stri Dharma. Am I right? One of the teachings is Stri Dharma and also the Dharma of the husband. Now, the husband has to protect his wife in all conditions. So she assisted him. And the inner reason was Sita knew that if she doesn't go to the forest, Ram Leela is not going to happen. There's no Sita, there's no abduction. There's no abduction, nothing happens. So she knew the plot. And her role was very important. And she played her role. That was one of the big reasons. And you see, another important reason is Lord Ram and Sita, what they are doing. You see, it is said, if great people follow the law becomes stronger. That is why Ram always followed Dharma. So if he follows Dharma, Dharma becomes strong. Am I right? If he doesn't break Dharma, people are going to quote, okay, great people like Lord Ram and Lord, he didn't break Dharma. So who are we to break it? Am I right? It becomes strong. So Sita is trying to serve her Dharma. She is trying to make Stri Dharma very strong. And she says here, by the way, from 𝗙𝗪𝗀𝗪𝗃 Ramayana, she says, Yastva sahasra swarga niraha yastam vina. She says, Yastva sahasra swarga, your association is like heaven to me. And when I have separated from you, that's a hell. That's what is heaven and hell for me. But my comfort is discomfort with you. And my discomfort is comfort without you. Her whole definition of comfort and discomfort were very different. So she says, if I am with you and I am feeling discomfort, actually Ram tried to really dissuade Sita, isn't it? You read 𝗙𝗪𝗀𝗪𝗃 Ramayana. Ram said, no, you will not come with me and you are going to stay there. And he even scolded her. No, it's not, I can't take you this and this. And Sita became really mad and she actually criticized Ram. Sita said, you are not even a man. You can't even take your wife. She was out of control, and because she was actually scolding Ram, and you can imagine, like, how can Sita scold Ram? It's not an ordinary dealing going on, but she wanted to serve him, and she was saying, to serve God, you can even argue with him. You can fight with him, with the purpose to serve him. And that's what she was showing. So she actually made this statement in 𝗙𝗪𝗀𝗪𝗃 Ramayana. She said, you think that I'll be so discomforted with you in the forest, but actually you're absolutely wrong. The discomfort which I feel with you is my comfort. And the comfort which I have without you, I'll suffer here like anything. So you want me to suffer or what? And that's what Sita's proposal was. So that's why she accompanied Lord Ram, it was all to glorify him. Nothing for herself. Absolutely nothing for herself. To glorify him and his mission. His mission was to establish the concept of service and dharma in this material world. That was the secondary reason, and she did that to assist his mission. Okay, that was about Sita. Now, not only Shatrughan, Bharat, and Ram and Sugriv, they serve Lord Ram. Everybody in Ram Leela is serving Lord Ram. For example, his sandals are serving him. In fact, there is a great devotee, 𝗦𝗙𝗪𝗪. There's a great devotee, 𝗦𝗙𝗪𝗪. You know 𝗦𝗙𝗪𝗪?
Yeah.
𝗦𝗙𝗪𝗪 is a South Indian Sri Vaishnav saint. I mean to say, he just like we have Prabhupada in Gaudiya Vaishnav, there is 𝗦𝗙𝗪𝗪 and Sri Vaishnav. So he was challenged to actually write something on Lord Ram. To write 100 shlokas on the glorification of Lord Ram in 5 hours. That's it. He was in the night he has to write before Mangalarti. And actually, so they wanted to defeat him because he was a very scholarly person. What he did was, in the morning he came with a work and he wrote 1,000 verses on the glorification of Ram. And not just on the glorification of Ram, but glorification of his sandals. There are 1,000 verses on the glorification of his sandals. If you read that, that's excellent. I mean to say, if I ask you to glorify Ram's sandal, what you will do? You can't even speak one statement. Isn't it? Can you speak something? Nobody. He wrote 1,000 verses overnight on the sandals of Lord Ram. And that is, so that book is still available, but that's in Tamil. So you're not going to understand anything. But if somebody knows Tamil, that's a very nice book. But I read it, so it's very good. But the whole point is, everyone in Lord Ram Leela, everyone is serving Lord Ram. Even his sandals are serving him. Even Manthara, 𝗪𝗖𝗪 and Raman, they are also serving Lord Ram. Now that's interesting because we think that they are actually negative characters. They are demons. How can they serve Ram? But actually Bhaktivedanta made a very interesting statement. Bhaktivedanta said the most important person in Ram Leela is Raman. And the best service was done by Raman. I don't know, he made a statement. It is a revolutionary statement. He said if Raman would not have been there, there would have been no Ram Leela. Am I right? If Raman would not have been there, Hanuman would not get any service to do. There would have been no Sanjeevani Bhoti, no Sita, no Lanka, and Bharat would not get any service. Lakshman would not get any service. Nobody gets any service. So Raman is a person, all these people are serving Ram, and Raman is a person who is creating services for them. So who is greater? In that context, Lord Ram used him. That was not Ravan's credit, but Ram used him to create services for his devotees. Ram is that intelligent. That is God. God can use everything in his service, directly, indirectly. So he used Raman, and that's why he killed Raman. Because he got credit of creating services for his devotees. Otherwise God will not touch anybody, even with his weapons. Even his weapons are glorious. And that's why when Krishna came in Mathura, when Krishna was surrounded by Jarasandh, you see Jarasandh, and then in the end 𝗪𝗪𝗪 came. You know 𝗪𝗪𝗪, he came in to attack. So what happened was, so Balram was telling Krishna, just kill him. Krishna said, no, how can I kill him? My Sudarshan Chakra, people have to be fortunate enough to touch my Sudarshan Chakra. And he doesn't have those credits. So I can't even cut his head by my Sudarshan Chakra. He doesn't have those credits. So he said the best way is let's run. So they ran away. That was the only solution. But Ram killed Ravan, actually by his arrow, isn't it? And he gave his darshan. He fought with him. Ram gave the rasa of fight to Raman, which is called, what's that called? Secondary rasa? the rasa of fighting rasa. I forgot that name, but one of the rasa is there. So Ravan, he gave him. Isn't it? Ram fought and Ravan was very glad that he got to fight with Ram. He was very glad because he saw the power of Ram. I mean, he saw the power of his monkeys. And he was very impressed. And Ram was impressed by Ravan, by the way. In 𝗙𝗪𝗀 Ramayana it comes, when Ram first sees Ravan, he's very impressed and he says, although he's such a handsome, he was very handsome, by the way, Ravan. Very big and very strong, lot of powers, very determined, very courageous. And Ram praised him and then he said, yeah, this is a fit opponent. And why he killed him? Just because of this. Because he created so many services for his devotees and his devotees served him and got his mercy. So in fact, Ravan was playing the role of Yogamaya, like, isn't it? Yogamaya creates services. So he was creating services and Ram took it in that sense. So Ravan was serving Lord Ram. 𝗙𝗂𝗿 was serving Lord Ram. In that sense, 𝗙𝗂𝗿, if there was no 𝗙𝗂𝗿, there would have been no vanvas, no exile, nothing happens. And who was 𝗙𝗂𝗿? I'll just tell you. So Manthara and 𝗙𝗂𝗿, they were serving Lord Ram. So that's the whole point. Ramayana teaches you how to serve Ram. Ramayana doesn't teach you how to be truthful, how to be nice, how to behave gently. That's not what Ram came to teach you. That's secondary. You can learn that from anybody. That's like kids thing, that you learn in prep. Ram comes all the way from his abode, spiritual abode here on the earth to do this. Doesn't make any sense. These are the secrets he wanted to unfold, which is beyond human understanding. So that's what he did. Okay, now here are some questions and you can answer me. Okay, what about 𝗙𝗂𝗿? Like what she's doing, I mean to say, she's gone mad or Dashrath is weeping and Dashrath was catching the feet of 𝗙𝗂𝗿, by the way. And 𝗙𝗂𝗿 was saying, I will abandon Ram. Dashrath saying, I never caught hold of anybody's feet, but here I am catching your feet of a woman, a wife. And she was completely adamant. I want Ram to be exiled. So what happened to her suddenly? What is some ghost? She was possessed by some ghost or what? What happened? No, there's a mystery to that. Can anybody knows that?
To begin with, Dashrath is very attached to Lord Ram.
And that's the whole point. Why did she become crazy? That's what happened with her.
Bad association?
No. You see, there's a secret there. 𝗙𝗪𝗀 Ramayana says, Ram had a deity which was given by Brahma to his forefathers, and which his forefathers were worshipping and Ram was worshipping. And that deity is still present on this planet. You know which one? Ranganath, Sri Rangam. Ranganath deity is a deity which Ram used to worship. Now he was worshipping that deity. When 𝗙𝗂𝗿 was there and she got really mad, Ram was at the same time he was worshipping Ranganath. Is there in 𝗙𝗪𝗀 Ramayana? And he was praying to Ranganath. He's God, but anyway. He was praying to Ranganath, please don't let 𝗙𝗂𝗿 change her mind. That's my request. She should be adamant. She should exile. So there Dashrath was catching the feet of 𝗙𝗂𝗿, and here Ram was catching the feet of Ranganath, Lord. So who wins? Of course, Ram is God himself. That's why 𝗙𝗂𝗿 couldn't change her mind, because he was behind the scene and he didn't allow her to change her mind. Because he knew if 𝗙𝗂𝗿 changes her mind, he will not get the exile and Ravan will not be killed. And many rishis came and requested him, please save us from this demon, he's gone crazy. And he needed a reason to leave his palace. And that was a perfect time which could happen. So that was in the background. So even 𝗙𝗂𝗿 exiling Ram, actually 𝗙𝗂𝗿 didn't exile Ram, Ram exiled himself. That is why when you read the pastimes of Lord, everything is controlled by Lord. Nothing is out of His control. Nothing, absolutely nothing. Even in our lives, we think that somebody is doing something, but nobody is doing anything. Everything is done by Krishna or Ram. Yeah, we like to say Krishna. Everything is done by God. Everything is under control of God. We have to understand. But by illusion, we think it's not like that. Lakshman was very angry when 𝗙𝗍 did this. And Lakshman wanted to kill Manthara and 𝗙𝗍 both. Ram stopped him. Lakshman couldn't realize what happened, but everything was planned by Ram. That's the whole thing. He is a director, he is a producer. That is the whole point. There is nobody else. Everybody else is a puppet there. That was 𝗙𝗍. And another thing was Manthara. Hare Krishna. Now, who was Manthara? By the way, Manthara was a person who didn't belong to Ayodhya. She came from outside somewhere. Nobody knew who were his parents. Nobody knew what's his kul. Nobody knew anything. She just came and then they employed her as as a servant. Now, who was she? She was a demon. In previous life, she was a Gandharvi. Gandharvi, you understand? The dancer. And she was cursed by Brahma. And she became a demon. And Brahma told that after you become a demon, you will be instrumental in actually serving the mission of Lord by giving him exile. And that was his role. So she came and she did her role. That was actually Brahma's planning. Brahma planned previously that we have to give exile to Lord Ram, so there has to be a character who played the role of a villain. So she got cursed, and he told him, and he told her that if you play this role, you will be freed of this curse. So she played this role. That's all. That was Manthara all about. So that's why 𝗙𝗍 did what she did. She got mad because behind Manthara was also there. She was really after 𝗙𝗍's life. She actually made her mad, isn't it, to go in the first place? She did her job nicely. Okay, that's 𝗙𝗍. What about 𝗎𝗪𝗪? Can we tell? Why did Lord Ram cut her nose? Because why I'm saying this? Because as Kshatriyas, you're not supposed to do that. As Kshatriyas, if some female proposes you, you're supposed to marry her. That's it. You can't say no. Like Arjuna he married. He was married to �द्रौपदी, but then when he went to Bengal side or Nagaland side, there was a king and the daughter, she proposed and he married her. You can't say no as a Kshatriya. So she was proposing, and what's the point? How can he just cut her nose? That's all. Yeah, it's a Ram Lakshman. I mean to say Ram actually hinted Lakshman and he did what he has to do. Huh?
He represents the lust and ego.
Yeah, but actually what happened, I mean to say, because Ram cannot contradict dharma. He can't go against dharma. That's what is important thing. Huh? What's that? Okay, that's the point there. He didn't do anything when she proposed Ram. He didn't do anything. And then she proposed Lakshman. They didn't do anything. They were okay. Because it's okay. Females can propose to Kshatriyas. That's dharma. You're not going to become agitated, and okay, fine. But then she threatened Sita. That was a whole problem. When she did that, Lakshman, he saw that there's a Vaishnava aparadh. See, Lakshman knows that she's a Vaishnav. They are related, but at the same time they know that she's a servant of God and he's a servant of God. That's Vaishnava aparadh. Lakshman could tolerate. The whole point is, scripture says if there's a Vaishnava aparadh, you're supposed to kill that person. If you can. If you cannot, then abandon that place. So she was there it's a Vaishnava aparadh, he actually cut her nose. They didn't cut the nose of 𝗪𝗪𝗃 because she was proposing, but because she did a Vaishnava aparadh. If 𝗪𝗪𝗃 would not have charged Sita, they would not have done this, because it was against dharma. They had to marry her, but she didn't play the game properly. That's the whole point. She didn't know playing the cards. She didn't know how to play cards because she was a demon. She didn't understand what's the concept of Vaishnava aparadh. She could have just complicated the situation if she would not have threatened Sita. They would be forced to have married 𝗪𝗪𝗃. They couldn't do anything. It was dharma. But of course, Lord Ram would have come with some solution. He's God, They know all the loopholes. So they are the makers of dharma. So they know the loopholes. They could have worked it around. But that's what it happened. But another thing what Ram did by cutting. See, this is how God thinks. This is how humans think. Humans think that we take revenge, but God doesn't think like that. Even though she did Vaishnava aparadh, as God, Lord Ram would like to forgive her. Lakshman would not forgive because he's a devotee. But God always forgives, am I right? So he wanted to forgive her. He wanted to extend his mercy on Lord 𝗪𝗪𝗃. God is always thinking of extending mercy. But the whole point is how to extend mercy, that's another thing. Just like the mother. Mother is always thinking to extend mercy to her child, am I right? But how to do that she knows. Sometimes she slaps her child. Is that mercy? That's mercy. Mother understands she has to slap and it's required, otherwise they will become out of control. So that's why Lord Ram, what he did was, he wanted to give mercy. Now how to do that? Because first of all she is doing Vaishnava aparadh. She is getting implicated in that. How to save her from that? What to do? So he thought, let's engage her in the service of my mission. If she does something for me and to promote my mission to kill Raman, she'll be benefited. So that's why he asked Lakshman, cut her nose. When you cut her nose, she'll go to Raman. She went to Raman. And she was a person who actually told Raman that Sita is very beautiful. And she actually really seduced him. And he was out. He couldn't imagine anything about other than Sita. And he came to kidnap Sita. So in other words, he engaged him in his service. Even small portion of role if you play to promote the mission of Lord Ram, you are benefited. So she was benefited in that sense. So we think Lord Ram cut her nose and why it's not good. But actually that was his mercy on her, to cut her nose. That's how God is. We can't understand the ways of God. That's how it goes. That was 𝗪𝗪𝗃. What about Bali? Why did Ram hide and kill Bali? What about that? What's the mystery behind that?
Because Bali broke the rules, he slept with his brother's wife.
So what?
It's against dharma.
So then Ram also goes against dharma or what? You can't hide and kill somebody. That's against dharma. That's nonsense. You have to be in the front and fight. So Bali breaks the rule, he also breaks the rule. That's not the style of Lord Ram, am I right? So why is hiding? Anybody knows that mystery there? There's a mystery to it. Okay. There is a mystery because you see the point. There are actually 4 reasons for that. And one reason is, you see, one thing was that Bali was also a devotee of Lord Ram. He was a devotee, we know that. As 𝗪𝗪𝗃 was devotee of Vishnu. So they were devotees. Now, if Ram would have come in front of Bali, Bali would have surrendered to Lord Ram. And Ram has a vow, if anybody surrenders to him, I have to give protection. And if he gives protection to Bali, his promise breaks, because he promised to 𝗪𝗪𝗃 that he will kill Bali. And Ram is a last person who is going to break his promise. So he was in a dilemma what to do. So that's why he hid behind, so that Bali would not surrender to him, and then his promise doesn't break. But more than that, this was okay. He would have also worked it around. He would have worked it around and to say, just to save his promise, he killed somebody. It doesn't look nice, am I right? He would have worked it around. But the main reason was he didn't want Bali to surrender to him. Why? Because Bali didn't want to surrender to his devotees. He didn't want to surrender to Sugriv. He didn't want to surrender to Hanuman. He didn't pay respect to Hanuman. And God doesn't accept anybody's surrender if they don't come through devotees. That is an act of false ego. That's not surrender. It would have implicated Bali more and would lead him to hell for eternity. Because he directly surrenders to God and doesn't go through devotees. That's an act of false ego. Complete false ego. It doesn't seem like that. You're surrendering to God, but it doesn't seem like that. Ordinary people, they come to temple, surrender to God, but they don't go through parampara and they don't accept devotees, they don't surrender, and God doesn't like that. And if you do that, you are guilty of sin and adharma and you go to hell for that. So you see, it's pretty complicated. Devotion and dharma is pretty complicated. It's not easy, and that's why Prabhupada said in his book, better do as it is. Otherwise, if you try to apply your brain and so-called intelligence, you'll be implicated. It will be very problematic. So to save Bali from going to hell, he hid behind. See, God is always thinking of the benefit of others. It's not him. It's not selfish purpose. That was another reason he did that. Another reason was Bali had a boon. You know that boon? What boon he had? Come on. Yeah. So Bali had a boon that anybody he fights, he will take half of the strength of him. And that's why Bali had a fight with Raman. Raman was very, very egoistic. Bali had a fight and Bali took his half of his strength and he became more strong than Raman. And Ravan came and he just held Raman in his armpit. That's all. And Raman was struggling to get out, but he couldn't get out. He just put him and he was doing his worship of Vishnu. He was just struggling there. He was chanting Vedic mantras. He couldn't get out. And he didn't even care for that stupid Raman. And then afterwards, when Raman was really mad, he said, okay, go, never come here. And he just ran. So Bali was that strong. So if Ram would have come in front of him, he would have taken half strength, but at the same time, he's God. Even if it takes half from him, still is infinite strength. So he can defeat him easily. But the whole point was, he was given this boon by Lord Brahma. And he wanted to respect that boon. So he didn't go in front of Bali, because if Bali takes half of the strength of Ram, he does a very grave offense. He takes the strength of Lord and uses for to kill Lord. That's madness. So he would have suffered a lot. So to save him and to respect the boon of Brahma, so Brahma's boon is also not, because if Bali takes a half of strength and he kills Bali, then the Brahma's boon goes waste. Brahma gave this boon to protect him. So he didn't come in front of Bali. And the last was, he hid to actually kill Bali, because he wanted to show that he's God, he can do anything. That's all. He is independent of all laws. He can make dharma, he can break dharma. Even if he hides and it is adharma, it is complete adharma, but at the same time he is God and you can't question him. That's all. Those are the 4 reasons which acharyas give. That's why he hid. And the last thing is, why did Ram took Agni Pariksha of Sita? That was a big thing, isn't it? He came and they fought for Sita. They saved Sita. And when you read Ramayana, it's a very very heartbreaking incident when Sita comes. So Ram asks Lakshman, bring Sita from Ashok Vatika. And Lakshman goes, and then Ram says to Lakshman, make sure that she doesn't come on a palanquin. Lakshman says, what's happening? Why not palanquin? We should receive her nicely. He says, no, she should come walking. and she comes walking, and then he says, Lakshman, you tell her that I'm going to abandon her. And that's it. So Lakshman says, you've gone crazy, we fought for her. So many people died. And now you're saying abandon. He says, he was very angry. And Ram says, you better not be angry, what I'm saying you do. And you tell Sita. So Lakshman says, why are you asking me to tell you? Always me, I can't tell this. He says, you have to do this duty. You are the person who has to do this duty. Because you are Lakshman. Lakshman means, I told you, Lakshman means what? Sacrifice. Your name is sacrifice. You're showing how to sacrifice for service. So it is for you. I mean to say, Ram asked Lakshman to abandon Sita. When Sita was left in forest, who was there? Lakshman. Lakshman said, come on, why not Bharat, Shatrughan, and I'm the only person? Because he said, that's your role. That's your role. So he went and he told Sita, and Sita then did Agni Pariksha. She said, okay, you're abandoning me because Ram said, well, you're contaminated. So you lived in the Raman's home. So I don't know what happened. People will question. So I saved you because it was my dharma as a husband to protect his wife. But now I can't do that, because if I take you, people will question, and our whole kul, there'll be a question on our whole kingdom and our whole, what's that? What do we say? Yeah, what do we say? Vamsha? On a Raghu Vamsha? On a dynasty, and this is not good, so I'm abandoning you. So Sita says, okay, let's do Agni Pariksha, that's all. So why did she do Agni Pariksha? Now Ram said there's one option. If you do Agni Pariksha, everybody will know that there's no problem. So the whole point is, Ram, why did Ram say this? To actually glorify Sita. Because Sita was always, that's God and servant. Servant always tries to glorify the master. Master always thinking and finding some excuse to glorify servant. That's Lord Ram. He was always thinking how to glorify her. She suffered so much for me, to glorify me and serve my mission. I have to glorify her. That's why he ordered Agni Pariksha. And if you read Valmiki Ramayana, after Agni Pariksha, all the demigods come. Shiva, Brahma, and everybody testifies. And everybody glorifies Lord Sita Ma. So all the universe, everybody knew Sita is great, her devotion is great. That was one reason why Ram actually did Agni Pariksha, one of the main reasons. Okay. And why did Ram abandon Sita? This is the last thing. Why did he abandon afterwards? What is the point? Everything was okay. She came back, she gave Agni Pariksha, and everything was good. But he abandoned her.
He actually didn't abandon her.
Huh?
He actually didn't abandon her.
But externally he did.
Yes. She never went out of her kingdom. He arranged for her.
I know, but at least externally we know he was in the forest and Lavkush was born there. Why did he do that? Now you see the point. One thing you have to remember, whatever God is doing, it's for the benefit of everyone. And extending mercy to devotees. That's what he's thinking, that's all. Suhridam sarva bhutana. So what happens was, there are many reasons for that. Now there were some demons, which are called as Suranakas, who got a blessings from Brahma that they're immortal. Now Brahma said that there is just one way you can be killed. Just one way. If Ram and Sita separates, you are dead. If Ram abandons Sita, then you will die. So they were happy because they thought Ram will never abandon Sita. I mean, she can be kidnapped, she can be done, but why Ram will abandon Sita? So they say, okay, this is a bet, okay. So they were very happy and they were creating a lot of problems. And Ram knew that. And Brahma came to Ram that we have to kill them. So Ram says, okay, if that's your request, I abandon Sita. That was the main reason. As soon as he abandoned Sita, their Lord Shiva and demigods, they went and they fought and they killed them. And they were dead. So you see the point. Ram is, so many things he is doing, we don't know what is happening behind the scenes. We actually had no idea what's happening. So we can't question him what he's doing. That was one big reason there. And another reason he wants to show is that mercy is greater than love. to extend mercy to conditioned souls. Even God sometimes has to do sacrifice. What to talk of devotees? So he sacrificed Sita. He abandons her so that Sita is there in the forest and 𝗪𝗲𝗪𝗀 are born, am I right? In Valmiki's ashram. Then they learn Ramayana and they're preaching Ramayana all over the world. That's what happened was, frankly. So he sacrificed his love. So, and one reason was why he sacrificed, because when Sita goes to forest, she is doing devotion in separation, in the forest. And that's what he wanted to show. Sita did devotion when she was with Ram. But Ram wanted to teach people how to do devotion in separation. And that's only possible when she is abandoned by Ram. Am I right? When she is separated. So, to actually teach the concept of love, to introduce the mission of Lord Chaitanya, just slightly, give a glimpse what he's going to do in the future. He's going to show love in separation by his own actions for 12 years. But okay, here there's a glimpse, because without that his pastime doesn't complete. So that's why he abandoned Sita, and that's why we say he sacrificed his love to extend mercy to conditioned souls, to teach them what is devotion. There are two reasons why he abandoned Mother Sita. And that's what is the secrets of Ramayana. That's how it goes. Untold secrets of Ramayana. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai. Anybody wants to speak, ask anything, I am done. You see, if now people tell you that Ramayana is all about morals, don't believe them. It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. It's very different take of Ramayana. So anybody wants to ask anything? Want to say anything? I am done here.
There was one thing when Lakshman had to be killed at the end, because he wasn't supposed to witness something. I can't remember exactly.
Killed?
Yeah, at the end.
No.
When he wasn't allowed into the room was...
Oh, he was supposed to be abandoned. Because Mahakal, personification of time, it came to Ram. And that Rishi, who was that? Vishwamitra came, or some Agastya Rishi who came, and they told, okay, we are in the form of Rishi, time came. Yeah, time came in Durvasa Muni. And the time personified, he entered Durvasa Muni, and he came, then they had a meeting, and he told Lakshman, you stand outside, don't let anybody come inside. So time personified came, and time was talking to Ram, it's time to end your pastimes, you are Vishnu. But then Durvasa Muni came at that time. And he said, Lakshman, I want to go inside. Lakshman said, no, you're going to go inside. Lord Ram said, no. He said, I'll curse your whole dynasty. He couldn't do anything. So Durvasa went inside. And then whatever happened, but then Ram came out and he told Lakshman, you are abandoned, because you don't follow my orders. And Ram wanted to show by that action. See, that's what I was telling. Ram wanted to show sacrifice is required to establish anything in this world. To establish love, to establish dharma, without sacrifice nothing happens. He sacrificed his wife, he sacrificed his brother to uphold his statement. And he was teaching that there is no question of any kind of creation without sacrifice in this material world. Even people who create so big buildings, nice, they have to sacrifice their energy and time. So that's the element. Yajna tapa karna pavnani manishina. He did that. That was the whole purpose there. Yeah. Yeah. Devotion, but the whole point is, you know what? Many devotees don't understand this. So sometimes there is a comfort zone in Krishna consciousness also. And we keep on going and going, and we don't really stretch ourselves. Sometimes, or many times, I don't know. And then we don't advance. So there is a tendency to become satisfied in service, which is not a good thing. Mahaprabhu said you should be always unsatisfied when you are serving the Lord. Spiritually. And then you advance. So you have to be unsatisfied that I am not serving the Lord properly. We can't be satisfied that I have served Him properly. It's absolute crap. So then you plan to sacrifice and you plan to stretch yourself beyond your limits. That's called sacrifice. And that's called 𝗙𝗪𝗈, austerities. And then we advance nicely. Otherwise, there is a trap also there. So that's the whole point there.
You were saying that enthusiasm means planning.
Yeah, enthusiasm.
Srila
Prabhupada.
Sometimes enthusiasm becomes manifest as some kind of fanatic.
You're right. I mean, yeah, Prabhupada says in Nectar of Instruction, enthusiasm is a function of intelligence. Prabhupada says intelligence, action with intelligence in Krishna consciousness is enthusiasm. And Prabhupada says in Nectar of Devotion, you have to plan. You see, if a businessman is very enthusiastic to earn money, what he's going to do? He'll make many plans and strategies. That's what he's going to do. So if we are really enthusiastic to serve Krishna, we'll make plans and strategies how to glorify Him. So any enthusiasm without planning is a sentimental upsurge. What happens with neophytes, am I right? With new devotees, they are very enthusiastic. You do this, that. But it's okay. I mean, but it's very superficial because there's no deep and mature planning how to go forward. And Prabhupada was really enthusiastic. He made a plan. He had a goal. After 12 years, this is going to happen like that. He made a plan to write his commentaries and he said, I'm writing commentaries and it will take 12 years and I'm going to do it. Very patiently. So enthusiasm has planning things. So we should all plan our lives. What's a short-term goal? What's a mid-term goal? What's a long-term goal? And what do I do? What is my service? How I can assist this mission or role I can play? All these have to be charted out clearly, and then it gives enthusiasm. Otherwise, it just comes and goes.
And usually that's in the company of others also.
Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah, that's true. In company of devotees, yeah.
So it's very easy to differentiate between wrong and right. But what Ramayana, one of the things which also glorifies the dilemma to how to differentiate between right and right. And often doesn't come up with exact answers. For instance, when Lakshman was asked not to leave Sita when Lord Raman after the deer, and then Sita is telling him to go, and even saying things which he didn't want to hear, that you're here because of me, etc.
Yeah.
So to leave her on the instructions of her is also right, and to not to go is also right. So to differentiate between right and
That's
right.
true. That's called as 𝗪𝗪𝗀. Technically, I don't talk about that, but Ramayana is also talking about 𝗪𝗪𝗀, because there are two dharmas which are equally correct, and then what to do. So which one to take, and that's Ram Leela talking all about. That it becomes really complex, but Ram Leela, if you study nicely, he is training you how to choose which dharma, in what condition. And that's, by the way, Gita is also about that.
So we often then say that the ultimate right is what you follow the instructions of the Lord. But here, the situation between Lord and his consort.
No. Ultimate right is what assists the mission of Lord. Whether it's devotee, whether it's Krishna. Ultimate right is what assists love of God. Love of God is mission. Our target is not God. Our target is love. Whatever assists his love for devotees and for conditioned souls and assists his mission, that is ultimate right. So Lakshman chose what Sita said and he went because he knew that thing will assist the mission and she'll be kidnapped. And Ram will be able to kill Raman. So that's how we choose. Otherwise, we can't choose putting God in center. That's why our focus is not God. If our focus is God, we'll be confused. Our focus is His service. And if that's the focus, then we can choose. And then that's not offense. Because we work for the service of the Lord. That's all.
So that even if it contradicts direct Lord's instructions?
Yeah. You can contradict Lord's instructions for His service. Prabhupada clearly says. Like Srila Prabhupada, like Chaitanya Prabhupada writes, Chaitanya Prabhu told Nityanand Prabhu, not to come to Puri? And Nityananda Prabhu came anyway. He contradicted Lord's instruction. Prabhupada writes, but it was not disservice because it was for the pleasure of Lord Chaitanya. So for that pleasure, he didn't follow his orders. That's okay. But that needs a lot of expertness to do that. We can't do that. So like that. Okay, so I think we'll stop here. I just wanted to tell you this. Oh yeah, I just told yesterday, if anybody wants this pen drive, you can have this from me. Many devotees took from me these pen drives, flash drives. Just like I spoke on Ramayana, I've spoken on Ramayana and Krishna comparison. They're very interesting things. And also many things about Gita and Bhagavatam. So you can put in your car, by the way. That's why I made this. Because I know half of the time spent in West is in the car. So what to do? Just plug in and keep on hearing, that's all. So I made this, so you can have this. This is 600 hours of lectures, 400 hours of lectures, 8 hours of video. And I've discussed many things from many acharyas also, because there are beautiful insights there. And then how does it fit into Prabhupada's teachings? Prabhupada is saying so many things which doesn't come evidently when we read, but when it's shown, then we can understand. Prabhupada is mentioning all these things. And these are some books. This is the book for devotees. I wrote Mighty Efforts. You see all these concepts I'm talking, it's there in this book, because these concepts, we have to read again and again, otherwise it doesn't go in our mind. So Bhakti Santa used to say, unless we extend our best efforts earnestly and qualify ourselves for the Lord's mercy, it is next to impossible that we can be rescued from a fallen condition. You need to put a lot of intelligence, a lot of efforts to understand we are dealing with absolute power, an absolute force in the universe that's standing in the altar. And no transgressions are allowed here. Was that zero tolerance zone? You know that? We are in that zone now. So willfully we should not do anything. That requires efforts. That requires efforts to resist temptations, to have proper discrimination. What is reality? What is illusion? What is the difference between right and right? So all those things I've mentioned in this book. I've quoted from Prabhupada's instructions, but also I've quoted from Vallabh Sampradaya, Madhva, what their view about putting efforts. And how do we know we are putting efforts in the right direction? All those things. This is one book, Crazy Ideas. If you can have this, it will help you in preaching. You meet so many people on the street, so many relatives. They might ask you, you are fanatic, sectarian people worshipping Krishna. What about other gods? What about Christianity? What about Quran? And you should have good answers, am I right? So all those, you might not have read Quran and Bible, but I have read Quran, Bible, Tao, Kabbalah, Sufi, Western philosophers, Indian philosophers, Vedas, because I know Sanskrit, I know Greek, so I can read that. I know South Indian languages. So I've read all of them, and I have written all those questions. Problem of evil, why there is so much suffering if God is all merciful. What do we say? What do they say? So all those things I have written in this book with arguments. So it will help you. You don't have to do your own research. Even if you do research, this will give some kind of map. And it will help you to answer others and answer to yourself. So you will know that our principles are universal. It's not, we are not sectarian, Prabhupada is saying, and that's why we are doing it. It's not only what Prabhupada is saying, but what Prabhupada is saying, that's universal. It's not his opinion. It's not our parampara. They're universal truths which are there, and that gives a lot of confidence, isn't it? At least to me, if everybody is saying the same thing, you're convinced, okay, good, let's do that. And this is one book, Science Fails to Explain Life. If you are not scientist and you want to understand how life was messed up by the scientists, they reduce life to matter. But life is life. Life is holy, life is divine, whatever you say. Life is life. It is not coming from matter. So what do those guys say, scientists? If you read their language, you will not understand anything, because they use words purposefully which nobody should understand, so that nobody comes to argue with them. So what I have done is, I have made those words simple. I am not using those words, putting in simple language what they say, and then showing you that there are so many problems what they say. They're self-contradictory, and what is a Vedic alternative. So you can talk to scientists If you read this
They
book.
create their own language.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Create a language.
Yeah, they create a language. They create functionalism, epiphenomenalism. What's this? It's simple. If I put in simple language, it's simple. But then you got confused. Or you know what? There's a trick to impress people. You speak in such a way that nobody understands, and people will praise you. Wow, this is an intelligent man, because nobody understands. That's Kali Yuga. So half of the science is like that, but it's pretty common sense. So anyway, if you want these books and pen drive, I'm happy to share. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, 𝗙 Prabhupada ki jai. We meet tomorrow. If you're coming tomorrow morning, I'm giving class. Yeah. So Bhagavatam class. Hare Krishna.
Jai, Keshav Anand Prabhu ki jai.